Hi there guys, and hi Ivan, how you doing?
Hi, okay.
Great. So, are you up for a little jam, mate?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's try it. Never experience this again. If you want to jam properly, join me in this lesson where we will learn how to determine the key of the song. You know that feeling when you hear a song or someone starts playing something and you try to solo over it and you cannot follow it up? Yes, it can be frustrating. Try this practical lesson that will help you determine the key of the song and what pattern to use over it. Depending how much patterns or theory you know, there are methods to determine the key relatively fast. And even if your scale or theory knowledge is limited, you can still put out a decent solo by following the tips and advices from this lesson. So grab your guitars and let's find out how to determine what key the song is. Before we start with determining the key of the song, first let's see what is key. The key of the song is usually the main chord, typically the first chord that starts the composition, or the first chord on the beginning or ending of every main composition fragment. In most cases you will find that the key chord will be either major or its relative minor chord. For example, one song may be from E minor key. The song starts from E minor chord and goes from there. If you aren't aware that this chord is E minor, and if you aren't aware what is the next chord in the sequence, and you need to make a solo right away on top of it, it will be good to know how to find the scale pattern. So this is what we will focus in the next videos. Each video is more advanced than the next one depending on the knowledge you have. We will cover the method in the case you don't know any patterns at all. Then we will cover finding a key using pentatonic pattern, and then finding a key using modes, which is the most accurate way. In the end of the lesson you will find some exercises that can help you practice this useful musical skill. Now, if you started playing the guitar and don't know anything about any scale or have very limited theory knowledge, for example, you learned what C major scale is in school but don't know how to use it, it can be very tricky to find out the key of a song. You must rely on your ear, but that isn't a bad thing as it might seem. When the song starts, first thing you need to do is find the root notes. This note will be your bass note, your starting and ending point of the solo or a phrase. Now pick a string, any string, and I like to use the top E string, since it can cut better through the mix or a song that you're hearing. Then go through the notes from 0 to 12 fret, and somewhere in those notes will be the root note you're looking for. Try out every note and determine if it fits your songs. You can feel if some note is not belonging there. Remember the notes that fit and the notes that don't fit. After this, write down the notes you found on that string, on all other strings as well, and you will get a pattern to use over the song you have. I repeat, if you don't know any scale or pattern or anything about music theory, this is the most secure way to find the scale that you need. After you have your proper notes, or the pattern, you can memorize it and use it for your song in order to create some music. Now, if you learn the pentatonic scale across the fretboard, there are a couple of cool techniques to use as well. First of all, we find the root note on top E string. Once we have the root, we need to know if this root is building major or minor chord. I will first play minor pentatonic scale and then major pentatonic scale to see what fits. Major pentatonic scale fits better, so this is C major chord. Once you have the basic pentatonic scale down, you can use it for initial part of your solo and then enrich it with a couple of more notes here and there based on your knowledge of the fretboard and what you can find appropriate using your ear. Next step will be to cover the root notes on the whole pentatonic pattern so you can find the root in any position. If you learn all these, it will be much easier to start from any string, any position. For example, we can go from the D string, find the root and carry on into the pattern, using the roots as our anchor points, since the progression will almost always resolve on the tonic chord at some point. The most correct way of finding the key is by using the modes. If you practice diatonic pattern across the neck, now it's time to put it into good use by learning the positions of the actual notes. The way you want to look at the notes from this pattern is with Roman numerals. You have 1, 4, 5 notes which build major chords, 2, 3, 6 notes which build minor chords, and 7th note which builds a diminished chord. When the progression kicks in, you find a root or a close match, then match the pentatonic scale as before, and then you add 2 more notes depending on the mode. First you can try with Ionian mode. If that doesn't work, try Lydian. If that doesn't work, try Mixolydian. One of these 3 will most definitely be the correct one. In this case, C Mixolydian sounds the best, so we continue to build from there and determine that although the starting chord is C major, it's the part of the F major key pattern. Same goes for minor chords. If you have a minor chord, find a root, play minor pentatonic scale, and then play Aeolian mode, Phrygian mode, and Dorian mode, and see what sounds best over the song and choose that as your general pattern across the neck. Although the methods I described here may seem confusing at first, with a little bit of practice you can become an expert for finding the key. How much you practice, that better you will become. So with that idea in mind, if you think this skill is useful for you, if you want to develop it, I made a small practice schedule for you. You can find several backing tracks that do not have the labeled key. Try to use those methods I described and find out the key they are in. The backing starts easy and go to more complicated changes, but the same method always applies. Find the root note, find the matching pentatonic note, and find the correct mode. After you determine the key, it's easy. Just play the licks and tricks you have under your belt and accent the chord changes.